Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, I mentioned that I was going to go through the budget, and we'll look at some of the smaller stuff, the minutiae that is buried deep within this budget that hasn't really been highlighted. Certainly, the SNP aren't going to highlight it because it is predominantly cuts of massive scale. And we talked about one yesterday where I mentioned about the cuts to the ICU, where they've cut the budget from about 14.5 million to nil, literally nil, nothing. But there are many other cuts. Some of them will surprise you. Some are like they're so small you think why bother? Everything's there because they have this massive overspend. They've got a black hole that they describe as being about a billion and a half, but you can guarantee it's going to be much bigger than that. And we've already, of course, touched on the tax rises that are coming in, which will make that black hole even bigger because they're not only not going to get the tax rise money that they're counting on, but they're actually going to end up with far less tax take than before, which means that budget black hole will grow 3, 4, 5 billion pounds. And it also means that the cuts they've announced, some of which are severe, will still not be anywhere near enough in order to fill that black hole. And of course, this is all down purely to a woman of very little brains. It's all Shona Robinson. She should not be anywhere near this subject. She's too stupid. She literally hasn't got a clue what she's doing. She's in way over her depth. She's been massively over promoted and it's harming everyone. So we're going to take a look and go through some of the things, some of the notes I've made and gone through. I've gone through this budget so that you don't have to. Now, it's been called a tax and axe budget because basically that's all it is. Put the taxes up and axe everything. And it has been virtually everywhere, universally condemned by people on all sides, including some SNP, MSPs, MPs, councillors, commentators, all that. Even her own side are running this budget down because it's literally so awful. It's putting fears into the people, especially the vulnerable, the ones who absolutely need the services that she's deciding need to be cut. And I think it was Labour's Michael Marra who said that the SNP Green government are asking Scots to pay more in taxes for fewer services, and they are deliberately hiding the cuts and the reasons why the cuts. And indeed, when the budget was proposed or it was published, the normal set of notes and things that go behind and with it, they weren't there. They refused to even publish those because they're so damaging. They said, oh, we'll publish them later. Yeah, later when the public have forgotten all about it and it isn't there, but we're not going to forget. We are going to keep an eye out for it. So it's a case of where your money isn't going, where your increasing taxes aren't going. So I have my notes. I'll move my cup of tea out the... Yeah, it's one of those. Biggest cup of tea in the world. So I'll move that. And I've got my notes here. And we're going to just go through. So the paramedic degree. Now, if you want to phone an ambulance, whatever, the paramedic comes, drives his ambulance, turns up, and he's able to fix it. Because you get two types. There's the drivers that are just drivers, or you get the paramedics who can actually deal with some serious stuff immediately. More than just first aid, but actual treatment. There's a degree for that. And these people are desperately needed, but they've decided that they're going to cut that funding by over 25%. So something that will directly save people's lives, gone. And so people will die as a result of a funding cut. That will immediately mean people will die. Who came up with that and who thought that was a good idea? Shona Robinson. But along that, if we're going to do all the health things, I mean, because we did mention the IC beds down, cut from 14.5 to nothing. So we've mentioned that already. So now that paramedic degree, that's gone. Nursing and midwifery, their budget, they have a bursary system where someone who's learning to become a nursing or midwifery and that, and that's been cut. Now that's only been cut 7.5% because they know that they're already deeply, deeply in a hole in terms of getting nurses and midwives in. There's such it's record what do you call vacancies, and so they've cut it, but they haven't cut it as much as they could because they know it's so desperately needed, and if they cut it anymore, they just wouldn't have any. So even then, still a cut, and it's a cut of about £10 million. How can we possibly save £10 million to restore this? 1 month of Spin Doctors is £8 million. Just saying. There's a couple of other smaller ones here. There's Active Healthy Lives. I don't know exactly what that is, but it's a funding cut within there. Again, because I haven't put all the notes there. But that's down 5.5%. Genomics. There's genomic studies, things like that, and that's for medications, and that's for cancer research, things like that. That's been halved. 50% cut. A 50% cut in cancer research funding. What's the biggest killer today? Cancer. And what are they doing? They're killing people. Forensic medical services. That's another one. Over 25% over 25% at 26.9%. Now, forensic medical services are things like, if let's say you've been attacked as a woman, hard, and they want to do the testing, so they go and they give you the swab and the clean and that, and they send that off to be tested. That's part of that. They talk about wanting to increase the number of convictions like a particular crime, and then they're cutting the budget that actually helps secure the convictions. Weird. But it's also things also like that with child abuse, assaults, all sorts of things. These are important, and yet they've cut that by 26.9%. Why? And then others. Other stuff, and it's only covered as other, but it's things like miscellaneous expenses, energy requirements, efficiency drives, things like that. The sort of things that you can do. They've had that budget cut 236%. That can't be right. Oh, it's my writing. 36%. 36%. So over a third shaved. So yeah, so that's come down from 213 to 150. So I mean, it's a massive drop. It's all there. That's all health costs. That's all saving people's lives or investigating attacks, things like that. All for the benefit. Cut. And yet that could be paid for. But we'll see why. Now, other areas. We'll go in and have a look at other areas now. Capital spending. Capital spending is capital grants. I've got the note. Capital grants down 21%. Specific capital grants down 12%. Public, I don't know what this is. Public pension agency salaries down 4%. Whatever that is. I don't know what that is. Right, community regeneration projects. So if you live in a rundown area and they want to do it up, that budget has been cut by a quarter. Vacant and derelict land budget down 34%. You know, these are things not as important as health, but still, you know, for the communities, they're there. Affordable housing cut by 30%. Well, they took 200 million, didn't they, off the housing budget. So that's down from 650 to 450, something like that. So that 200 million is housing for people who are homeless otherwise, and they would have had that. They could have used it, build, you know, that's gone. And along with it, fuel poverty payments, they've gone. They're down 92%. So virtually all wiped out. It's gone from 22 to 1. 22% to 1%. Sorry, 22 million to 1 million. My apologies. It's what? What? And this is money that could be found easily. 8 million a month, as I say, just on Spin Doctors. The cost of all those embassies. And the thing that's going to really drive it is, of course, you've got that reduction in tax take that is undoubtedly going to happen. It's going to get worse. Another one, the Ukrainian resettlement. Now, the big thing, look at us being virtual. Oh, we're marvellous. We're the best thing since sliced bread. And they've cut that from 70 million to 36. So it's 40% nearly, top of my head. And that is a big, big drop. And it's everywhere. Now, I mentioned the rail service thing where they're moving goods travelling by rail. And that's all going to go back on the road because they cut that by an immense amount. The green jobs, 100% job. So they're pushing the green jobs. Oh, look at us. We're doing the green jobs. We're going to do green jobs. How much are we investing? None. Nil. None. 100% cut in that. They want to push this. They want to push this to be the best and the greenest of everything. And they cut the budget 100%. What about your kids? Your grandkids? You know, your nephews, nieces. They go to school. Only just. The health and well-being for education, down 28%. Teacher training, down 5%. Scottish Children's Reporting Administration. So that's basically looking after the welfare of children and reporting on the welfare and making sure the children are okay. Down 11%. The Improving Lives budget, down 100%. Literally from 15 million to none. So where people are in care or in dire need, and they have this budget in the education budget where they can push and specialise, completely cut. Nil. Nothing. Student support, down 7%. That's small, that's sad. But still a cut. Still a cut. You know, and it's everywhere. I mean, this is a complex one because it's going to be... it covers a lot. And it's called the Wellbeing, Environment, Fair Work and Energy. That section of the budget, but it's energy industries down 40%, employability down 23%, Scottish enterprise down 15%. They need to grow the economy and they're cutting Scottish enterprise. Highland and Islands estates, again, places where desperately needed because they're out of touch. They can't get ferries, they can't get hospitals, anything like that. 20%. Bang, done. Scottish National Investment Bank, cutting that by 28%. Tourism, the tourism budget. One of the biggest things that Scotland has, cutting the budget 10%. You wonder what the hell is going on? What are these people up to? Oh, there is good news though. There's an area where there's no major cuts whatsoever, and indeed for some parts, increases in spending. Constitution, external affairs and culture. In other words, the drive for independence, pushing the external, the little embassies, and culture meaning sending Aberdeen Angus, Fat Cow, Angus Robertson, MR's Angus, off around the world to spread Scottish culture. They've gone up. So your education, screwed. Health, screwed. Land reforms, screwed. Housing, screwed. Every aspect that would help people, screwed. Transport, jobs, tourism, availability, subsidies, screwed. However, they have got money to push for independence, they have got money to push for embassies, and they have got money to send Angus Robertson around the world, first class, quaffing champagne and caviar as he sits at 30,000 feet and takes the piss out of all of us. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's where your tax money goes. Stop giving them the money and they can't spend it. Blows your mind. But at least you don't have to go through what is an incredibly long, deeply detailed and utterly boring budget paper. But anyway, they're still voting on it. Let's hope it fails to go through because it will be disgustingly bad for Scotland. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this. It probably went on a bit longer than I intended, but you did need to know the numbers, and now you have. You won't find them anywhere because nobody wants to talk about them. Nobody wants to read the budget because it's so appalling. Anyway, you'll not hear this. You'll not hear this on the BBC, put it that way. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.